This right now, the Comcast Business Hotline Beyond Fast, our friend Adam Schefter. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Doing just fine.
Great.
I hear you're in the car. You're not taking the dogs back to the vet, are you?
No, actually, I am in the car. If you could believe this, I am taking my daughter to school for the very first time since March.
Aw.
The first morning that we're doing it. She wanted to go back, and it was a very, very hotly debated subject in our family the last couple of days, but this is something that she wants to do, and so we are on the way to school, and this is our first day back at school since March, and again, we'll hope it goes well.
Well,
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, and I know a lot of families are having that same discussion. My daughter, fortunately, not old enough to go to school yet, so I get to bow out of that conversation, fortunately. But, Shefty, it's right in line with what I was going to ask you about right out of the gate. Governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf, said that you can have 15% capacity at outdoor stadiums. That includes the Steelers, obviously. It includes the Eagles. To this point, how do you think the NFL has handled fans being allowed back in stadiums?
Well, before we get to the fans, let me just say this. There are two important updates that I want to get to right now.
Sure.
Breaking news that I think merits conversation ahead of the fans. That is that this morning, the Patriots cornerback Stephone Gilmore tested positive for coronavirus. He's not going to be practicing today, nor are the Patriots. And the Tennessee Titans just had another player test positive, and they are not practicing. And the fact that they're not practicing and have not been able to reopen their facility, you have to go 2 straight days without a player testing positive to be able to reopen the facility. So the soonest now that the Titans could do that would be Friday, which makes you wonder how they're going to be able to play a game on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. The Patriots now have had 3 players since this weekend: Cam Newton, Bill Murray, a practice squad defensive lineman, and now Stephone Gilmore test positive. And I think that while the league and the Players Association tries to figure out how to address, how to best handle these situations and what to do, I think this is just another reminder that we are going to have this basically every week now.
And do you think
so?
Oh, go ahead.
It's going to be challenging every week. It's going to be a lot of different scenarios and interesting situations. And I think you have the Pats Broncos and the Bills Titans games both in jeopardy for this weekend.
Obviously, everything is up in the air, so I don't want to ask you what you think is going to happen in one regard or another, but do you see, barring any full-blown outbreak across the league, do you see the NFL it's still being at least likely that they play a full 16-game season? All teams?
Couldn't say that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
That's a very difficult question to answer in a morning where we're going to have basically 2 teams not practicing, games this weekend in, at the very least, major jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
Major jeopardy, right? Like, we don't know what's going to happen with them.
Are you hearing from teams, are players, it's week 4, week 3 we start to hear this. Do you get a sense that maybe after 2 weeks players started to get a false sense of security, or is it being talked about at all in those NFL circles?
Well, I think it's different decisions for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that you can make a blanket statement. I do think that the first 2 weeks went uninterrupted, which was encouraging and surprising. The 3rd week, A.J. Terrell, the Falcons cornerback, tested positive and didn't play and got held out. And then you had a situation where after that, the outbreak in Tennessee occurred. And that's where we are right now, where we're trying to figure out if this weekend's possible and if this full season is going to be possible.
We've been talking about fans being allowed in stadiums here in Pennsylvania again. As I told you about, the governor made that announcement. Around the NFL, how do you think, or what do you know about how teams have been handling, like the Cincinnati Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs? I know that the Cowboys are allowing fans in stadiums as well. How do you hear that's going amongst those fan bases?
Well, again, all teams can do is follow state guidelines, and the state guidelines are coming from political level. So I mean, if the Pennsylvania governor allows however many fans it is to the Eagles Steelers, okay, that's what it is. I mean, those are the rules. I honestly don't know how that works. The teams are basically taking their marching orders from the political people, the people in office. There's not a lot they can do. The Eagles or Steelers or whoever it is could want as many fans as possible. The fact of the matter is they don't have a say in the situation. They're told what they can do with each game. But what does it matter how many fans they could have if there's no games to attend?
Sure.
That's the bigger issue to me.
Right.
All right, Schefter, I'm going to switch it to on-the-field stuff for now. And the Eagles get a good win. Go to San Francisco.
Yeah, a great win.
9-point underdogs get a win. You see the rest of the NFC East and what they're all about. You said the Eagles and particularly Carson Wentz really wasn't in your conversation at all on the national shows. Where are they now? What's your thoughts on a gutsy performance by the team and Carson Wentz?
Well, it was a step in the right direction, and they still have to play better. But that was an inspired effort, and they showed improvement, and the defense looked ferocious. And now it's time to string together some games like that where they're making plays. I still think the offense has to play better, but that was a great win for that team. To go into San Francisco on a Sunday night and play and win, and to be in the position they are, like they're in first place and they haven't played well, and knowing the Giants aren't going to do anything, the Washington football team's not going to do anything, and we wait to see whether the Dallas Cowboys can prepare what has been a horrendous defense. So, I mean, horrendous. So we'll see how that works.
Speaking with Adam Schefter of ESPN, one of the other things that revolved around that game is Jim Schwartz's defense towards the end of the game was allowing a long drive by a third-string quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. I know I ask you a lot for the national perspective when it comes to Doug Peterson, when it comes to Carson Wentz. What is that perspective when it comes to Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator? Is he respected throughout the league?
Oh, yeah, no, he's an excellent defensive coach. People know that. I mean, that's a fact. He's one of the top defensive coordinators, bright mind, has traveled around, but is aggressive, wants his team to be aggressive. They played aggressive that night. I mean, I don't think that's an issue right there. Like, he knows how to do his job.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, I know around the league, and I don't know if here and in Philly, you haven't had an all-pro here since Jeremiah Trotter was here, and that was even in the first stint of Jeremiah Trotter, I believe in 2004. Around the league, I know linebackers are kind of being phased out in terms of the importance and payroll and all that. Do you see it as maybe even more of an exaggerated case here in Philly, maybe more so than anywhere else, or do you think that Philadelphia is just kind of going status quo with the rest of the league in that position?
Well, I just think it's a different game. You know, the teams are running different personnel. They have more receivers on the field, more full wide receiver sets. They're trying to get teams out of certain formations. I mean, to me, a team has to go with the strength of its team, whether it's linebackers, defensive line, whatever it may be. Now, again, if you got a 3-down linebacker, you're leaving them on the field like that. That's what you're looking for right now. You're looking for the linebacker that doesn't have to come off the field. That's the goal.
Okay, yeah, and I think that might be harder to find than most. But
of course,
yeah. Speaking with Adam Schefter, ESPN, I want to go back to the COVID tests here, and I can remember a play with Stephone Gilmore where he hit Patrick Mahomes as he was going out of bounds. So that's one play in particular that I know he was close to somebody, a very important name, obviously, in the NFL. What happens testing-wise? Anything different with the Chiefs, more closely monitored? What happens when a team's opponent, like the Steelers, for instance, and the Titans, what happens next after a player tests positive?
Well, first of all, the Chiefs test came back negative this morning.
Okay.
So there are no positive Chiefs tests for starters. And then you have a situation where basically, hold on one second.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on a second. Be smart and be careful. I love you. And so, look, if you go back to the Vikings and Titans, the Vikings play the Titans. Vikings haven't had a positive test. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm not any of that. But when you listen to people talk, the belief is, and the NFL shared this data with medical scientists, that you have to be in proximity with a person for a little bit of an extended period of time. I don't know that a Stephone Gilmore and Patrick Mahomes collision on the sideline is enough to transmit the virus. Again, all we can do is go by what we're seeing. Stephone Gilmore tested positive. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, nobody else has tested positive. Now, I happen to believe, I was told that in the New England area over the weekend that Cam Newton and Stephone Gilmore were spotted having dinner together on Friday night. So, and I was aware of that over the weekend. So to hear that he tested positive, I got to be honest, is not overly surprising to me. You know, if you're at a dinner table with somebody who's got the virus, you know, there's a chance I would think that you're going to get the virus, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with this morning. We're dealing with, I think it's a crisis. I mean, it's if you look at everything that's happened this morning, we've got a third Patriot testing positive, another Titan testing positive, and I think there's a lot of questions about this week now.
Schefter, do you know anything about the health of the guys that are testing positive? Like Cam Newton tested positive last week. Have you heard anything about how he's feeling or how any of the other players, I know it's quick, but how they've been feeling?
Yeah, I know in Tennessee that spoke to some people down there, and they felt like that team was in a situation where everybody was doing pretty well after 24, 48 hours. They were encouraged their progress. Nobody was significantly ill, fortunately. None that I'm aware of. Again, somebody could be, and I don't know. So I don't want to just say, okay, this is done, set.
Sure.
But in talking to people down there this weekend, I didn't get that sense. It doesn't sound like any of the Patriots so far have struggled. But, you know, here's the problem in New England, for example, right? You've got a quarterback's coach in Jed Fish, who I believe had open heart surgery at one point. You've got an offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels who's asthmatic. Minority running backs coach in Ivan Fears, and the virus has been known to afflict the elderly. You've got one of the oldest head coaches in the NFL, Bill Belichick, who was double masking on Monday night. I mean, we as football fans love to watch this game played. But we as Americans recognize that, you know, buy into it. And it's got to be very disconcerting for everybody. Like, I'm just telling you, the amount of stress that my house had to go through to send my daughter to school this morning, which is no different than any other house, was unbelievable. I just can't even tell you what that was like the last 24 hours. And again, it's not like it's going to be better. Like she went to school, okay, that's it. Like it's just there.
Sure.
And so you complicate that when you've got football teams and coaches who are around guys that have tested positive, and you're in large gatherings, which you're not supposed to be. So, again, just a tough thing to have to. Everybody's doing their best, and the league has systems in place, but there are going to be moments like this. I think this is a real key moment to see how the league handles this. Real key moment.
And I know we've talked about Stephone Gilmore. The Patriots have also canceled practice today, as one would assume.
Titans are not practicing. So, and if they're not practicing today, when are they? Can they play those games? They don't play those games. When are they making them up? Is the NFL just going to go now to a playoff formula that is based on win percentage? I mean, I just think it's hard to think about a full season right now when there are going to be these fires every single week, I would think, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe there is a stretch where the league doesn't have issues and positive tests that cause them to make alternative plans, but I don't know. You know, winter's coming, cold weather's wave is coming, and if all that is true, then these types of incidents more so, and the frequency of them will go up. And so every time it goes up, it improves. And again, it's going to be very hard to do this. Very hard.
Schefter, just outside of the COVID world for a second here, it's about Zach Ertz's deal last week, and I know we've talked.
By the way, it's 2 positive tests for the Titans this morning. 2
positive tests.
Yeah, they're not going to play that game against Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
That's not going to happen.
Okay. No, I know that there might have been some confusion for Zach Ertz's deal. You had talked about, two years that he agreed to have tacked on to the end of his previous deal?
No. He did not tack on any years.
Okay.
He did not tack. They restructured, and so I was in error on that point.
Okay.
But, again, the Eagles went to him, and he provided the cap relief for them. And so, look, the 2 sides have differing opinions on this. They have not solved it. It doesn't sound like they're going to solve it anytime soon. And we'll see how that plays out, right?
Yeah, right. Schefter, I really appreciate you calling in again today and talking to you. And I know you had a lot going on personally, so you guys will be in my thoughts, for the rest of the day. I hope it all goes well for your young lady.
No, everybody's doing it. It's not unique to me. It's
right.
just this happened to be the day that we're doing this.
Yeah.
And so it is what it is.
Good luck with it, Schefter.
Schefter, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Adam.
you.
Adam Schefter joining us right there, and I'll classify that as real talk, keeping it 100.
Mark Farzetta with Bob Cooney and Jamie Lynch. Mornings on 97.5 The Fanatic. Philadelphia.